You open this door with the key of reason. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of truth, a dimension of freedom, a dimension of joy. You're moving into the land of both the ideal and the real, of the possible and the actual. You've just crossed over into the Capitalist Corner.
Where reason meets reality, welcome to the Capitalist Corner.
Hello, everybody. Yes, welcome to the Capitalist Corner. I'm your host, Mark Pellegrino, and also the chairman of the American Capitalist Party, along with my co-host and vice chair of the American Capitalist Party, Michael Liebowitz. And I mean, should we give this little one some kind of office name, some kind of?
Well, this is actually yesterday we had on Haley. This is Haley's much larger twin sister, River.
And she's a lot more, I could tell, sociable and a little less camera shy.
Yeah, she's also a lot more she's not as comfortable with me because I pay more attention to Haley.
Oh,
hey. But this is River. River is a very, very sweet pit bull, very large, sweet.
All pit bulls are very sweet, and maybe we should give her an honorary title in the Capitalist Party.
Yeah,
even though we're not affiliated with the Capitalist Party, as the small print shows, it's just a couple guys talking about our own opinions. You know, maybe she should have we should start thinking about an official designation for our furry family friends. Michael, what's going on with, I know you told us what was going on with the Rational Egoists yesterday.
Well, unfortunately, my episode that I wanted up today is not yet up. Hopefully later today or tomorrow it will be. The interview, it's the interview I did with Gene Epstein about Adam Smith. Is he a founding father of capitalism or a drunken uncle? It's a fantastic interview, and I'm looking forward to it. And Everyday Ethics, we've been kicking ass now. I got Persephone on board, so everything's going well.
Fantastic. What was the topic yesterday? Now, I retweeted it, but I'm on my way to the Jiu-Jitsu Academy, so I didn't get a chance to hear it. So can you tell me a little bit about what it was? Because
yesterday we discussed moral skill.
Moral skill.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great episode.
That's very interesting. So it says on our title, mental health, my mental health. You know, what is that all about? Now, tell me, am I missing something in all the articles?
No, there was no article. That was just what I was thinking. You know, it's just, there's a big dilemma, it seems to me, that people like us face, right? Yeah. To enmesh oneself in this never-ending battle of bullshit and tyranny being waged by the Trump administration, not to mention the socialists that are opposing him, it's taxing, and it's always something new every day. Cut it out. Every day it's something new, right? And it's just, it can be exhausting. And when you come across the followers who either blatantly lie to defend him or are just very ignorant and always rude, it's just exhausting thing, and it takes its toll. And I was thinking, like some people will say you need to get off social media or maybe stop reading this stuff. But to me, that smacks of just turning a blind eye to what's going on. And I never want to be the person who 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, it can be looked back on and say, the United States fell apart and this guy did nothing. This guy knew and kept his mouth shut. This guy knew and put his own, mental health above the reality that was occurring. So it just seems like it's a strong dilemma. I didn't put our mental health because I was writing it and I didn't want to, I didn't want to cast aspersions on your mental health, but nonetheless, it's very tiring. And then when you throw into the mix that there's people that I would think would see this for what it is, and instead they're cheerleading it.
Yeah, it's very discouraging. Remember, Michael, like 3 months ago, part of it was because of the loss of Frankie, but I talked to you before the show and I was near tears and I'm like, I just can't handle this. I mean, we need something positive at the end of each show because there's just so much negativism out there and so much cheering for the negativism. It's like nihilism seems to be ruling the establishment right now and taking over people's minds and zombifying them. And it was so fucking discouraging. Thank you, Jenna, for the $5. You agree. It is really discouraging, Michael. I've been having, less back and forth than I usually do to protect my own mental health, but you have to have a little back and forth with these people. They need to be pushed against. And yesterday for me, it was a number of tweets back and forth with people who are agreeing with the immigration policy as it's happening today and what ICE is doing today. And they're literally gaslighting us because they're asking us not to believe the evidence of our senses. Actually, one person in the feed said this whole thing is a fake. The whole video, which was clearly not a fake, was, according to this guy, a fake. And you cannot argue with these people, and I don't even lower myself anymore to their level to attempt to argue with them. But it's discouraging because the self-evident is no longer self-evident.
Right. And then you've got people like there are so many lies being spread about this woman that was killed. And I've not, look, I think that she foolishly put herself in a very dangerous situation. That doesn't mean she deserved to die. But even if I go to the absolute extreme, which I'm not, I don't know all the laws, the ins and outs to come to a real legal conclusion on it. I do think that the officer did not have to shoot, but that's my personal, take on it. But let's even say it's 100% justified. There are people out there like making up lies about her as a mother, saying she's a terrible mother. She did this, she did that. It's really disgusting. Like they're gleeful. Like people are out there saying, oh, she fucked around and found out. And it's like, really? Like this woman was a mother who was killed. She wasn't some hardened thug. And it's very just disgusting and discouraging. So Bonnie values. Well, Bonnie, that's the exact problem. That's the exact issue.
Wait, you cut out on that last part. So could you repeat that last part?
Well, the problem is that, yes, our mental health demands that we fight for our values, of course. But when you're in such a irrational culture, when there's forces on all sides that are just blatantly mystical, irrational, when you've got people that, describe themselves as objectivists, but then are saying that Donald Trump is, doing the Lord's work, for lack of a better term, or calling him a hero and praising ICE. And it's very like soul wrecking. And I'm just reminded of Ayn Rand's article on her essay on our cultural value deprivation. And she talked about man's need to pursue values, to find enjoyment and enrichment. And she talked about, and when the culture really starts to decay, it takes a spiritual giant to rise above that, to be able to function, at a high level in those situations. It's a very tough thing that we got going on here.
I think we should discuss that article over the weekend, Michael. I think a lot of us could use it because a lot of us are being
for the show for this.
Yeah. For our show.
Is it available online?
We can check it out. I sent you something, by the way, by text that I think if Penelope can put this up, it is a frame-by-frame analysis and a rather astute frame-by-frame analysis of what happened to Renee Good. And I think it's a very, 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 I think a lot of people need to see it. I don't know about so much the people in our audience, but people who may be tuning in who are MAGA supporters or supporters of what ICE is doing right now, they might find this video very informative. It is a little piece of reason in a completely irrational take on this, Michael. As we know, many prosecutors in Minnesota resigned because the administration is trying to force an investigation with respect to this shooting, and pin the entirety of the responsibility on Renee as opposed to the man who shot her. And Michael, there are two things that happen in this video that you'll find very interesting.
I sent it to Persephone, by the way.
Hopefully, Persephone, when you can get it up. Sorry, I don't want that to be interpreted in the wrong way. But when you can, when you have the ability to post it, please tell us so we can post it, because I want everybody to see it from beginning to end. But I will say this: it's sort of a spoiler alert. As the cop or the ICE agent goes by her car and makes a first pass by her car, she says, "Hey, man, everything's cool, okay?" And when he comes to the front of her car again and shoots her, his response as she crashes into the lamppost or the other car, whatever she crashes into,
is fucking bitch. I know.
Fucking bitch.
I'm very, let me just say, I sent it to, we got a super chat from Katrin. She said, it sure gets exhausting and discouraging, but you both are important voices of reason out there. You both are doing great, and I value your opinions a lot. Thank you so much, Kat, for the €5 and for the kind remarks. I do want to watch this. I think I've seen this already. This video to me is such a Rorschach test, because people watch it and come to such diametrically opposed conclusions. And that's one thing, but they think it's self-evident from watching this video that they know. Like, I think the officers screaming, "Get the fuck out of the car," running at the car, I think that's not that escalates the problem. It doesn't de-escalate. Correct. Trying to open her door, I think, was inappropriate. The officer running around the vehicle and coming in front of it clearly wasn't good. But if she legitimately is threatening his life, or if he could reasonably think she's threatening his life at that moment, that's what matters. And, there's so many factors. It's, yes, once he's out of harm's way, he's obligated to stop firing. The problem is those 3 shots took place in less than a second. And if the human brain can't register fast enough that change, then he's absolved legally. Now, morally is a different question. For me, Mark, I honestly think that the bigger issue, and this is, I think, what we really need to hammer, is in a free society, you do not have masked federal agents in unmarked vehicles going out to, grab people and take them off the streets. That's just not what we do. All right, what we should be doing.
This is what I have been saying on social media the last 2 days, to massive pushback from the MAGA right, who thinks this is completely appropriate. And so I've been saying this precise thing. This is not what you see in an America or in a country that respects individual rights. You don't have masked, militarized police officers going into places of business or domiciles, homes, where people are peaceful, and removing them or attacking them in any way. The main thing here, Michael, is that they are attacking peaceful people who are committing no crime.
Okay, so we have a question. I'm going to play the video, but I want to in Bonnie, see this, I'll get to Bonnie's point. Just remind me of Bonnie's point in case I forget. So Nicole Hingle says, does anyone think the local police should have done more to keep protesters away from ICE agents? My friend in Minnesota is disgusted with their local law enforcement. Okay, so this is another very complex situation, because it's been correctly argued that Barack Obama got more help from local jurisdictions. Much of that help was in the form of information. So Trump has access to all the same types of information, maybe even more than what Obama had. But you also had a situation where Obama was going after dangerous people, right? Dangerous people, convicted, violent offenses, that sort of thing. And so what was he getting more help because that was the approach that he was taking, was that he was going after, actual criminals and not people's, neighbors and gardeners and, whatever else is there. I don't know. I know one thing. If I'm a police officer and you asked me to aid masked men in my communities going after nonviolent people because of their status, and to be doing, if you're going to do that, then you're necessarily going to have to start, interrogating people on the street. I would not help. I'm not doing that.
Nor would I.
Right. So I don't know. Now, of course, that ends up meaning that it becomes more volatile for ICE because they don't have the help. But all of this is a result of the policy put forth by the Trump administration. And that's where concrete examples are great. And I think that they're very, very necessary to demonstrate the effect. But regardless of, whether this shooting in the end is ruled justified or not, Bonnie Bertrand makes I'll get to that in a second, Bonnie. A great point that immediately the federal government came out and started saying that she's a domestic terrorist, that this is justified. But if we flip that a little bit, it's also true that the government in Minnesota immediately came out with their conclusions. To me, it's so irresponsible for government officials to be giving those types of Jim, I'll get to you in a second. Now I forgot what I was going to say. What was I saying? When now we have a situation where an investigation, now they're not cooperating. So we're going to have a federal investigation done where the federal government is entirely already has their mind made up. And we're going to have a local investigation done by a group that already has their mind made up. I don't trust any of them to give us the truth. So Obama deported a significant number of non-criminal aliens. The problem is, Jim, is when they're talking about Obama deporting people, which he did, they're factoring in border crossings, turning people away at the border. So when they're talking about kicking out non-criminal aliens, that may be what they're addressing in the AI thing you've done, but their target when they went to jails, when they went into cities, was criminals. The Trump administration has greatly ramped it up. Also, they've taken away discretion. They've told the ICE agents, you're going to take in anybody that is not anybody that's not here legally, regardless of their, whether they're a criminal, not a criminal, whatever. Whereas in the past, these agents had significant amount of discretion.
Indeed, giving them immunity, and for Stephen Miller also to start ramping up quotas so that they're obligated to arrest 3,000 people a month now, as opposed to taking it case by case. That incentivizes this kind of indiscriminate behavior that we're seeing on the part of ICE now, where they're just nabbing anybody who happens to be brown and then holding them until they can find out whether or not they are a citizen. This is just something you should not see in America, and anybody who has an ounce of Americanism left in them should be appalled by this kind of stuff. Nicole Hingle said something up here, Michael. Her point to me was that local law enforcement is doing nothing and protesters are taking it upon themselves to block streets, which they do not have the authority to do. I'm not there, obviously. I'm just stating. But oftentimes this happens, Michael, when the police aren't doing their job, when the government doesn't protect the individuals in the community, people start thinking that they have to take it upon themselves to protect themselves. And so they start doing this, and it ends in chaos and disorder and more violence, of course, because the government is acting outside of its authority and or not acting according to its proper job. Thanks for being careful, objective, and moral, you too. We do our best. Michael keeps me in line. I appreciate him very much. I think he's a great voice of reason out there. And that reminds me, folks, please like and subscribe to this station so that this we need more rational people out there actually talking about these events from a rational perspective and from a freedom-oriented perspective, from an individual rights-oriented perspective, so that we have a consistent individualistic ethics going out there in the world. Thank you for the super sticker, Kathy.
Okay, I want to read something and then I'll post a video. So I asked the question, This is the question I posted regarding Jim's point. The non-criminal aliens deported by Obama, were they sought after and captured in the interior of the country? Yes, to a significant extent. Under the Obama administration, deportations of non-criminal or low-priority immigration cases often involved apprehensions in the interior of the U.S., not just at the border. However, the emphasis was somewhat selective. One, priority enforcement program, PEP, in deferred action context. Obama initially focused on removing individuals with criminal convictions, recent border crossers, or those who had prior deportations. Non-criminal aliens, those without significant criminal records, were not the main focus, but some were still deported, often through interior enforcement programs. Interior enforcement. ICE conducted raids, workplace investigations, and check-ins with individuals under deportation proceedings. Many deportations of non-criminals came from home visits, routine ICE check-ins, or workplace audits, rather than targeting violent offenders. According to ICE data, roughly 35 to 40% of deportations under Obama were of people with serious criminal records. These were mostly people who had pending removal orders or violated criminal immigration laws. So while Obama's public messaging emphasized deporting criminals, the reality is a substantial number were apprehended in the interior. So I guess it's more nuanced than what I found yesterday while I was looking for this, but it seems that there has still been a large uptick, and we do know from recently the percentage has gone way up of people that being arrested without criminal convictions or criminal charges pending.
And maybe we're just getting more exposed to it, Michael, but certainly the violence quotient has risen significantly. There was a little comment here that I wanted to catch. Thank you, Iraqi-chan. Station, my gods, you sweet old man. It's a channel. Yes, I keep calling it a station, but I do mean channel. So just remember that. That's called pulling a Pellegrino. When I mean one thing, but I'm saying another. Michael, do you want to post the video now? Because I do think it's important for people to see this tick-by-tick analysis of the video.
Of the murder of Renee Good, we've seen the Trump administration and supporters of Trump's argue that it was justified because she struck that ICE agent with her vehicle. And there's been some debate about this because several camera angles looks like she doesn't. And then there's that one like really shitty footage where it kind of looked like she did. A page called Barely Info that's on Instagram and TikTok. I'll tag them. He did a tremendous job breaking this down, looking at all the angles, explaining everything in a very easy to understand way. If you have someone who's arguing with you saying that she struck that officer, I suggest you show them this video.
Did Renee Nicole Good hit ICE officer Jonathan Ross with her car? I wasn't planning on making a video about this, but I keep seeing people saying either that the footage proves he wasn't hit or that it shows he was hit, and both of those can't be true at the same time. And I'll be honest, when I saw this clip, I thought, that really does look like he was hit. Maybe I was wrong. So I gathered a bunch of angles, synchronized them up in an editing software to look frame by frame at what happened, and it turns out we can arrive at a definitive conclusion, so we'll do that together. Now, I'm not going to show blood or gore, but this is a sensitive incident, so viewer discretion is advised. We start with this angle shot by bystander Caitlin Collinson, which shows Renee Nicole Good waving the first ICE car to pass in front of her, which they do. Then she waits for the second car to pass, but they stop and two ICE officers exit the vehicle. At this point, you can hear her say, "I'm pulling out." They tell her to get out of the car. They start yanking on the door handle and reach inside her vehicle. This already disproves claims by DHS head Kristi Noem, who said that she was belligerent towards them and attacked them as they were pushing their cars out in the snow. Now we get to this angle shot by Jonathan Ross himself, who's the ICE officer who killed Renee Nicole Good. Importantly, this was shot on a handheld smartphone, not a body cam. And when he passes in front of her car window, she tells him, "That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you." Which further shows that she was being calm and polite and trying to de-escalate the situation so she could leave. As far as I understand, this is her wife, which you could argue is being slightly more confrontational, but one, she has every right to be, and two, she's not behind the wheel, so her behavior is not at issue at all. Moments before the shooting, you can see on Ross's camera that she's turning the steering wheel right. You can also see the wheels of the car turning right from the other angle as Ross steps out of the path of the vehicle. Okay, third angle. This was posted by ABC5, and ICE defenders say this shows Ross being hit. This is what is professionally referred to as potato quality footage. It's a blob of pixels, so it's really hard to see what's happening. But there are three really important things we can get from this footage. One, the moment before the car purportedly hits him, if you synchronize the footage with the other angle, you can see that he was already outside of the path of the car. It only looks like he was hit because this is from the same angle as a Hollywood film would shoot an action scene to make it look like a punch connects with an actor's face. Two, despite the potato quality, as far as I can tell, these are his legs. I'm gonna highlight them in white so you can see what they're doing. You can see him shifting sideways as the car starts to move forward. Importantly, he stays on both feet for the entire incident, which contradicts claims saying that the footage shows one of his legs being swept up by the hood of the car. There's a 3D recreation of the incident by an NGO called Index Investigation based on the angle from the back. And based on the footage, they depict him leaning on the side of the hood as he's shooting in the side window, which is exactly what we can see in the potato video. And three, this is the most important one. The snippet that is used from the potato video that is circulating most widely online as a case closed he was hit was tampered with. It doesn't have original sound. It's a less than 1 second clip playing on a loop, and it's been sped up to make it look like the car is going faster than it was. This is part of a deliberate disinformation campaign to change the narrative, so it's not your fault if you were misled by a clip that was tampered with. Finally, back to the officer's perspective, they say you can see him and hear him being hit by the car and that his body cam is knocked off. But remember, this isn't a body cam, it's a smartphone in his left hand. All you can see and hear is him pulling his gun out, using his left hand with his phone in it to lean on the hood of the car, and firing 3 times. And cherry on top, the last thing she said to him was, "That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you." And this is the first thing he said after killing her.
Fucking bitch.
And it only got worse from there, where they didn't even try to give her first aid, and they prevented bystanders from helping her, including one who identified himself as a medical professional. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if I changed your mind, and follow for more.
Unbelievable.
I hate to say this because I don't hate to say the truth ever, but I'm largely, obviously opposed to ICE, but I do take slight issue with the idea that she was being so peaceful. She was being passive aggressive. When she says, "I'm not mad at you, dude," I mean, you have to read context.
Sure.
And she's not just being nice and calm. She's being passive aggressive. I think that's totally irrelevant. Totally irrelevant, right?
Agreed.
And then now they have the claim out that the guy suffered internal bleeding. The problem is I do not believe these people. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying I don't believe what they say. Now, Jim asked a question earlier about the comparison between Obama and Trump's deportations, convicted and charged. The short answer is it's very difficult to know because of how they define criminals, apprehensions at the border, whether they're factoring them in. But the latest data, and this jives with what I've been seeing, and the numbers are going up. So we have to take that into consideration, that the numbers are increasing. I know that from reading outside of this, of non-criminals being deported. So under Obama, a significant share, often 40% or more, were deported or detained with no convictions. Under Trump, it's between 47% and 73%. So the number is rising. So the latest numbers that I've seen are closer to this 73% number, and it has a lot to do. So the key differences are Obama, his formal priorities put criminals and recent border crossers at the top. Trump policies have broadly applied enforcement against most undocumented immigrants, regardless of criminal history, leading to a greater share of deportees and detainees with no convictions. So that's the answer. So there can be no doubt of the increase under Trump. I suppose we could quibble about how much of the increase is, but it's very difficult to stop. But yeah, the numbers are rising, Jim. Like the numbers that I looked at this morning were from November to December, and they were toward the higher end. Because what ends up happening, from what I'm gathering, and mind you that I'm going on this is a very fluid context and numbers are changing and coming in. But from what I can gather is once they're putting quotas where you have to get a certain amount of people. So what ends up occurring is in order to do that, the more of the people you have to go after that aren't criminals. So we can expect that number to rise because the more criminals they get and get out, the less criminals that are here, but their quotas aren't changing. So you're going to see that number escalate. And we have indeed seen it escalate.
Yes, indeed. Shall we switch topics, or are there still questions respecting this topic? There are some people in the audience who still believe that the man was defending his life and that he had no idea that she wasn't trying to run him over. All the video evidence suggests to me that was not the case. In fact, he's leaning across the hood to shoot her out of the way and shoots her a couple of times when he's on the side of the vehicle. I know these decisions are made in a split second with people, but from all indications from the outside, it doesn't appear like his life was threatened. And like you said, Michael, I can't believe when they say that he has internal injuries, I can't believe anything this administration says anymore. They lie so often. They've lost any trust. They've lost all trust. And this was supposed to be the administration that was supposed to bring back trust in the big institutions. No more. Now, the American people are smarter, I think, to not believe anything that this administration says. Please don't. Be skeptical. Be skeptical of everything they say. I think it's safer for you. You want to talk about Greenland, because this seems to be a huge topic right now. And
I want to answer one question, Mark.
Go ahead.
So there's a question about quotas. I want to ask right now. Can I just tell you? I don't know. Did I tell you this yesterday? I may have. There's a lot of skeptics about ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I've literally put in examples and I asked it, how would I feel? I told it, I'm an objectivist, right? What is the right thing to do according to an objectivist? How am I likely to feel in this situation? It got it exact.
Really?
Oh, exact. It was insane.
Nice.
Like I sent it to Jim Valiant and he was like, the White House and DHS leadership have pushed for higher arrest and deportation numbers as part of enforcement strategy. Media reports, quotas, quote, senior advisors talking about specific target figures. There's been no codified legal quota, but there are, it seems to what it is there's unofficial quotas that they're putting out for these people.
Yeah, like Stephen Miller just saying something on Fox News like we're going to take 3,000 of these folks a month.
And also instructing them not to prioritize criminals. When you do those two things, have non-official quotas, tell them not to prioritize criminals, just to basically blanketly do it, it ends up with a significant increase.
Yeah, and then you are then harassing people who are peaceful folks, and that is not what the United States of America is supposed to be.
Yes.
Speaking of peaceful, and speaking of harassing a peaceful people, this is from the Daily Digest. There was a meeting in Greenland. The Vice President, J.D. Vance, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with foreign ministers of Denmark and Greenland yesterday in Washington, D.C., and the meeting came as President Donald Trump ramped up pressure over Greenland, saying the U.S. would not accept anything less than full control of the world's largest island. Greenland has been under Danish control for nearly 300 years, but the Arctic island of approximately 57,000 people gained self-rule in 2009. It is home to the northernmost U.S. military base, including around 150 U.S. Air and Space Force personnel. Trump has joined other presidents in expressing an interest in acquiring Greenland. He has threatened to invade Greenland if Denmark does not sell the territory, citing the island's large reserves of rare earth metals, oil and gas, and strategic placement vis-a-vis Russia and China. This week, Denmark expanded its military presence on Greenland and yesterday announced Operation Arctic Endurance, a multinational group that includes officers from Canada, France, Sweden, Germany, and the Netherlands. This strikes me as a Vito Corleone-esque. You're going to put your signature on this. It's either your signature or your brains are going to be on this contract. Make your choice. It's such a mafioso move on Greenland. What do you think about this whole thing? And what
this is like what I mean. This is, there's the metaphor of the frog boiling in water, and I don't know whether if that's true or not. But I want to, if the story about the frog is, but I think what happens to us, what happens to humans is, if somebody back in 2015 would have said in 2020, you're going to, or it was January 6, 2021, rather, you're going to have, Donald Trump is going to be claiming that an election was stolen from him, that they had claimed, that Steve Bannon said months before they were going to do, even though it wouldn't be true, that he tried to seat fake electors, that people would storm the Capitol yelling, "Hang Mike Pence," and Trump would do nothing about that. He's never apologized, and he continues to say Mike Pence didn't do the right thing. And then you go forward and Trump pardons all of them, the people that rioted at the Capitol. You then say Trump is going to be a guy who is going to pardon a guy convicted of a foreign leader convicted of peddling cocaine. Trump is going to pardon him and shortly thereafter invade another country to take out their leader and charge him with peddling cocaine. Right. Further, you're going to have Trump pushing for caps on interest rates on credit cards. You're going to have Trump, having a criminal investigation into the head of the Federal Reserve. Trump's going to be threatening the Federal Reserve and saying that he should control interest rates. Trump is going to be wanting to ban corporations from buying houses. He's going to invest American money into the housing market. And on top of that, there's going to be people in America deported without due process and sent to a foreign prison. And we're going to have masked agents in unmarked vehicles on the streets of America. And the National Guard is going to be activated and put on the streets of America. I think back then, people would have said, there's no way we will ever go for this. They would say that is really fascistic. It's not what this country's about. No way. But when it starts with John McCain's not a hero, when he's lying about Arabs dancing in the streets or whatever else garbage he's put out there, it's, it's Trump, but it accelerates. It gets worse and worse. And here we are. And I think it's probably worse than we even realize, to be honest.
Well, he's certainly feeling his oats post-Venezuela, and he is on a bit of a power trip, it seems, and he wants to flex his muscles all over the world. But do you think this is going to be a game changer? Do you think Europe is actually going to go to war over Greenland when it won't even go to war with Russia that's in its backyard, firing missiles into the Ukraine and even into Poland? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know.
And they're also trying to bribe Trump. It's like the world has understood that, okay, he's a spoiled little guy who likes bright, shiny things. If we can give him bright, shiny things, we can distract him long enough to take him off topic. And maybe we can distract him long enough to take him off the topic of Greenland. We already have security access there, Michael. We already have a base there. It's not like the Greenlanders will be upset if we can, buy a few more parcels of land and put more bases on there for our own security, to keep the Russians from doing whatever they think they're going to do, which I doubt they can do, or to keep the Chinese from doing whatever the administration thinks they're going to do. We don't have to purchase the entire island. We don't have to invade the island and take it over. This, again, is not what Americanism is supposed to be about. This is a throwback to some nonsensical manifest destiny crap, and in the 21st century. And it's frightening. It's frightening the degree to which this guy can talk this kind of shit on the international stage and get away with it.
Yeah, and he's now has people in the cabinet, or people that are in his administration. They're tweeting things out about Greenland, and it's really, I don't know what's going to happen, because it's so beyond anything that I would have imagined occurring, that I don't like. I don't know. What I know is this: I remember when I used to hear Barack Obama talking, and I used to think, this is not America. The
Yeah.
things that this guy is saying are just not America. And at least back then, Republicans talked the language of America. Not always,
And they
but
understood
quite a
that
bit.
Obama's language was not about America.
Yeah.
But now they're posturing as if this un-American stuff that Trump is saying is the very heart of America.
That's what bothers me more than anything.
Yes.
If they would just admit what they were, okay, well, then we have a clear thing. Okay, but they claim to be capitalists. They claim to be constitutionalists. They claim to be for freedom. And it's just, I mean, like, it's down the rabbit hole, through the looking glass, and landing in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. And that's where we are.
I mean, the world civilization, the 10,000, 15,000 years of world civilization has seen a lot of insane stuff. But in our lifetime, Michael, I don't remember such chaos. I mean, I was only 3 in 1968 when we had a great deal of political upheaval, and a lot of the forces that have taken over academia today were being born then. But I don't recall this degree of chaos, and I don't recall this degree of overt disrespect for the Constitution of the United States and for what America is supposed to stand for. It's literally non-existent on the right now, non-existent. And I used to look to them in the 90s for some degree of grounding, right? Because I was a Democrat in the 90s, but I started to discover, like, well, the Democrats don't really have their feet on the floor, and their ideals aren't really connected to reality. But some things the Republicans were saying actually made sense. And so I would look to certain commentators back in the 90s, the Krauthammers and Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams, and I would read these guys and say, at least these guys are making sense. It comports with my sense of logic, and they back up what they're saying with data and with history. Now I don't see that anymore. Now these guys are outliers. They've been pushed to the fringes. The Thomas Sowells of the world. Thomas Sowell should be one of the most famous people in the world, one of the most looked to people in the world for his cultural analysis, and he's not. And part of the reason is because he's been pushed out by people like this and the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah, I just saw a thing from a tweet from, what's his name, your buddy. Not your real buddy, Austin Peterson. Is that his name?
Yeah.
And he says that libertarian nationalism is the answer. That's the answer from this guy.
What is that? What does that even mean?
Who knows?
That's like a contradiction in terms. It doesn't even mean anything. And these people marry these concepts and they think they mean something. So this is depressing, talking about Trump and the immigration policy and the increase of the immigration policy.
Right. So then what? So what do you do? That's the thing. We have to keep talking about it. So I have to keep enmeshing myself. And then I have to keep getting told about TDS and obsessed with Trump, because evidently the thing to do is just lay down and let him do whatever he wants. But you know what I like, though? I don't recall any of these conservatives saying this to people who were criticizing Obama every day. I don't remember them telling the Tea Party, oh, you guys are obsessed with Obama. Come on. ODS you have, you need to move on. This is crazy. You're obsessed. It's only when you criticize their guy, and the fucking hypocrisy makes my head want to explode. I can't stand it.
Of course, the double standards are amazing, and the Trump derangement syndrome that they've leveled at the left, frankly, is on the right as well. It's on the right. I know people on the right who suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. Michael, I could literally show them video of Trump killing somebody, and they would still say, well, you know,
Yeah.
it's probably for the best, and this guy probably had it coming, and here's the reason why it's in the interest of the American people. Trump wasn't bullshitting when he said he could shoot somebody on the middle of Fifth Avenue, and there are going to be people who are still going to vote for him and like him.
Well, here's the thing, Mark. If somebody said that about me, I'd be offended. Like if you were to say that my sense of justice or my pursuit of truth was so empty that I would support somebody who did that, I'd be offended by it. These people cheered it. Somebody told me the other day, the guy said to me, "We have Trump and you have nothing." And I
Said that to you?
He said it to me, and I responded. I said, "It's interesting that you think without Trump there'd be nothing, because that's insane."
It's insane. It's insane. Well, a no name says, "Don't worry, Trump won't be president forever." And you know, Lincoln at one time said, "How much damage can a president possibly do?" I mean,
A lot.
yeah. And now we understand that a president could do a great deal of damage in the 4 years that he has. Well, now we have about two years left on this guy's run, and who knows what can happen in that 2 years. I mean, literally, Michael, with a $37 trillion debt, where we're paying something like $1.5 trillion in interest on it, and all of the policies that he's planning on enacting, which he says is going to bring back a golden age of America, which is in fact going to precipitate a crisis. I mean, who knows what can happen, because when it happens, it's going to happen fast. We just don't know when it's going to happen.
Now, like we're talking about when Trump's out of office, but no. Akira Felix, you're misunderstanding me. Yes, I was accused of racism too when you opposed Obama. I'm not downplaying that. That came from the other side. What I'm talking about is the conservatives, the Trump supporters who are so upset about being obsessed with Trump. They were just they were the ones that were obsessed with Obama, and none of them ever said it. It's their hypocrisy. I'm well aware of what the left said about people who opposed Obama. Kira, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear on that. But in relation to Trump being out of office in 3 years, okay, but what's following? I mean, what are they paving the way for? Does JD Vance get in there? Because
that's
JD
what they
Vance
are paving the way for.
Because to me, he's more dangerous because he's actually smart.
Yeah, he's organized.
He's tactical. He's smart. He's not emotional. Doesn't fly off the handle. That's even more dangerous. And who knows? What are the Dems going to put up against him to run? And how bad is that going to be?
AOC. That's
right.
The only national purchase right now. I mean, so it's a literal confederacy of dunces and statists. There really is no choice out there unless the Capitalist Party can get people elected to national office. There really is no choice. It's statism one way. It's national statism, or the statism of the socialist variety that the left prefers.
Jim Valiant for president.
I would love Jim Valiant for president. I think he'd do a great job. Unfortunately, would Jim Valiant take it? I would say that anybody who wants to take the job should be immediately disqualified.
Is Jim going to give a Sherman-esque statement at this point? If nominated, I will not run. If elected, I will not serve. Is that what's coming?
Let's hope.
All right, let's talk about the article I sent you about dynamic capitalism. Did you read it? I hope.
Probably. Yes, you'll have to find it for me though, because I'm looking for it now, and it might take a little while.
All right, I'm going to come to the rescue.
Good, thank you.
Because it's the type of thing I do.
I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. So the article is from the Chamber of Commerce. It's I don't know. It's not from her. The article's from Axios, but it's about the head of the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, I love this article. Go ahead.
And what she said is, not only is this America's 250 year, but it is a year when competing visions for America's economic future are coming to a head. It's a hinge point. And she says some Democrats openly embrace socialism and corporate leaders widely believe the Biden years featured a damaging anti-business regulatory overreach. I agree with that. President Trump has implemented the highest tariffs in nearly a century and sought to micromanage companies' decision-making. So basically, where is it here? Basically, what it talks about is how each side doesn't like capitalism. And if we want to grow, if we want to prosper, we need to embrace a dynamic capitalism. Now, dynamic capitalism means freedom. It does mean some jobs are lost when, new industries come in. I think about this. Let me just read Robert Nasser for $5. Awesome, Robert. Thank you. He says, it's exhausting. I'm just glad I'm young enough that I'll still be here after January 21st, 2029, and after Prezi Apprentice assumes room temperature. I remember when, we had VCRs when I was a kid. And I remember in my town, there was these small, video rental places. And then Blockbuster Video came in. And, they're putting these little places out of business. Oh, yeah. Look at the Blockbuster Video. It's so terrible. This big company. 20 years later, Blockbuster's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So is that a bad thing? I mean, now we have so many more options now. You don't have these clunky videos. Should we stay stuck there? I mean, it's easy to get caught in a moment and say we don't want to lose these things, whatever they happen to be. But life is dynamic and it necessitates growth. And if we're going to grow, we need dynamism.
And to fear the change and to fear the loss of the thing as if nothing better will replace it. But Michael, Blockbuster, I used to love going to Blockbuster. It was fun to look through the videos and all that stuff. It's nice reviewing that and Stranger Things. If you watch that TV show, you get back to the 80s and you get back to the days of the video stores. It's fun. It's fun to go back there. But you know what? We have, as you said, so many more options now, and so much more media is accessible to us immediately, like right now. You don't have to travel anywhere to get it. You don't have to rent it and pay late fees. You just get it, and it's immediately there for you.
Or fail to rewind fees.
Yes. Oh, were there those?
Something tells me you were a fail to rewind guy. I'm gonna bet that there were a lot of times you were penalized for not rewinding.
No. I don't even remember that there was a fail to rewind fee, but I never.
Which means you probably failed to rewind.
I never got it.
Well, you had your agent taking care of all that.
No, I did not. I take care of a lot of stuff on my own. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, you don't remember Be Kind, Please Rewind?
I don't remember that.
Oh, man.
That's funny, though. Yes, we don't have to worry about that anymore because all we do is we go to Netflix, which used to deliver the CDs to the house. Remember all that? And you had to put them back in.
I do not remember that, no.
Wow. And then they became a network, and then they became a studio, and now they're doing their own content. By the way,
I'll tell you what, you know where they weren't delivering DVDs?
To the Hooskow.
To the Hooskow.
That's right. That's why you didn't get the benefit of that. Higher growth would in turn make the nation's fiscal and other challenges more manageable. Growth doesn't solve everything, but we don't solve anything without it. That's right. And I can't see anything in the Trump agenda that is pro-growth.
No.
I can't see anything in the Trump agenda that is pro-growth. And yet here he is on national television trying to pretend like the tariffs are making us richer.
Yeah. They're taking credit. They're claiming to have cut in half, overdoses in half. They've done that because of Trump. Something about jobs. I don't remember what it was. Something stupid that they've increased all these jobs. Never mind the jobs are hemorrhaging at the moment. But whatever. It's his reality, and it's like social metaphysics. I say it again and again. Social metaphysics is the belief that you look to the minds of other people for your reality. Trumpian metaphysics is they look to Trump for their reality, whatever he claims. The guy said to me yesterday, if you don't deport these Somalis, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of humanitarian crimes, rapes and murders. It doesn't matter that it's not true.
Unbelievable hyperbole. It's just unbelievable hyperbole. How can anybody take the guy seriously anymore? If I hear one more time, Michael, that this is never done anywhere in the world, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to the United States of America, I am the best. But if I hear that one more fucking time, I think I'm going to scream. I can't take it anymore. Look, I want to do a little red meat article for me that you sent me, I think, from the Epoch Times.
That's why I sent it.
Witkoff announces the start of the second phase of the Gaza peace plan. Look, the first phase isn't even really done. There's supposedly a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel, but there really isn't that. I mean, by Hamas's count, there's been somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,100 violations by Israel. Of course, that's bullshit. But 1,100 violations of the ceasefire by Israel. By Israel's count, about 18 or 19, where Hamas fighters have crossed the yellow line, which they're not supposed to do, with hostile intentions and have either killed IDF soldiers and or been killed themselves. It's a very, very, very precarious ceasefire that's not even really happening. And yet, Witkoff wants to proceed with the second part of this, which he announced on next January 14th, announced the start of the second phase of President Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan. In an ex post on January 14th, Witkoff said the second phase will move Gaza from the initial ceasefire into a period that will include demilitarization of the Hamas terrorist group and the establishment of a technocratic governance model. I don't know about you, but the first concept will be impossible because Hamas will not disband and they will not disarm. They will not demilitarize, even with the carrot that they're trying to put out there, Michael, which is if you lay down your weapons, we'll give you safe passage out. You'll have a full pardon. They're going to fully pardon these criminals and let them go to other parts of the Middle East to plant whatever seeds of Islamicism they're going to plant over there and still conspire against Israel. But worse, a technocratic governance model. What the fuck is that?
It sounds very Wilsonian to me.
It does sound very Wilsonian.
Wilsonian.
And how far has that gotten us, Michael? How well has technocratic governance gotten us?
I don't know. It's too much. It is. It sucks. Bonnie Bertrand points out that Trump promised $2,000 checks and now recently said, "Did I say that?"
He probably realizes that the $2,000 checks he would have to send to every American are actually more than were paid in tariffs.
By the way, Larry Sharp up to 8% in the polls in New York.
Nice.
That's a good thing. If he gets on the debate stage, that could be huge for him. So we're pulling for him. Tomorrow, do you remember the story we covered? We had Alan Thomas on a few weeks back about the guy in Alabama. Well, tomorrow we're having his daughter on.
Fantastic.
She'll be on here to talk about that case. I cannot wait to see what she has to say. That will be fan-freaking-tastic.
We are continuing to fight the fight, folks, for the people. What the people really need is liberty. They don't need more governance. They don't need the political class telling you what to do or governing your lives or pushing you in the direction of their preferences. We need a political class that is going to protect our rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what capitalism is, and that's what we strive to do. Let's make individualism sexy again. I don't know that it ever found its sexiness, Michael, because it came up at the same time that collectivism was rampant in society, and collectivism, all the intellectuals embraced collectivism, and they knew how to write, and they knew how to package their product in such a way as to make it very compelling to people. Now we need to make individualism really sexy to people, and that means, if you're in the culture, folks, if you write novels, if you write movies, get out there. Don't be didactic, but write a great story that has an individualist message in it. And let's make that sexy again, because that's how you start making the changes in the culture that we need to have a philosophical revolution to make capitalism the the primary economic and political system in America again. That's the capitalist thought for the day. Michael, do you have a question?
My question is this. Go to YouTube and answer this. Would you support Jim Valiant for president? My dog said yes. My dog said yes.
We have one vote already. I would support Jim for president. I would love to see him up there on a debate stage and knocking the shit out of the political establishment.
Yes.
It would enjoy to see precise, concise, and awesome, rational thinking up there on a debate stage for once, instead of pandering to constituencies. Unapologetic principles up there on stage are undefeatable, folks. We're going to be here tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. We're gonna be here with the daughter of the man that we have been talking about in Alabama. It's going to be a great show. I want you to join us, and please remember to like and subscribe to this station and pass it on to your friends, because reason needs to be king again in America. Until then, my friends, peace.